Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there tonight and had yourselves an awesome Saturday. And I certainly hope you folks have been having a fantastic weekend out there so far. Christmas Eve's tomorrow, Christmas Day over the next couple of days. I hope you guys are ready. I know me and my family are. We're certainly very excited. And speaking of the next few days, all the way through Christmas Day into the couple days after, we have some active weather coming up. So we're going to speak on that. This video will be broken up into three main topic areas, so definitely utilize them timestamps. The first being what's going on right now. We do have a light to moderate snow event that will be ongoing between now and the next 24 to 36 hours. We'll get you guys some details on that. The second topic will be the chance for a significant winter storm across areas of the country. Kind of separated from what's going on right now, another low will develop and throw a lot of heavy precipitation back in the cold air in areas of like South Dakota, especially Nebraska, northern Kansas, western Iowa, maybe even areas of Minnesota, maybe even northwest Missouri can get into the mix with this. But there is a chance for a blizzard with this. What's wild is I feel like the storm system is not being talked about enough in the weather community. It really isn't. And maybe it's just because things are really increasing as far as these snow totals. We've been talking about this storm system on and off over the last few videos and how the models have been disagreeing, but they are really coming together now for what looks like a pretty significant winter storm right on Christmas Day, really cranking up on Christmas morning for certain areas and lasting into the 26th, maybe the 27th. So we're going to speak on that. Then the final and third topic is going to be giving you guys updated information on this pattern change coming up. This is looking likely at this point. The National Weather Service is speaking on the Climate Prediction Center. We know the cold air is coming for the last few days of this year into the first probably several days of 2024. Confidence is really, really high on that. There's going to be some energy flying around. Is anything going to link up? Are we going to get any kind of winter weather for areas maybe further south? Heck, for anywhere. Because there's a lot of people across the central and especially eastern U.S. that are really chomping at the bit a little bit from not getting absolutely any snow in last year's winter. So I want to say this really fast, really quick. I've had a lot of comments saying, Mitch, is it going to snow at Billy Bob Town, North Carolina, coming up here in the next week or so? Or, there's just a lot of comments saying, hey, is it going to snow at my house? And they're not saying my house, but they're saying their town. I've been seeing it on social media and the comments more and more. Folks, I just don't know that. And I'm please don't think I'm coming off away. I'm not. I'm really not. It actually tears my nerves up that I have to just type, I don't know, to your comments. And I know I wouldn't want nobody to tell me that. But folks, if I knew that kind of information, I would be able to tell you when's the next time it's going to snow at my house. And then it would take the enjoyment away from me because the anticipation isn't there because I know if it's going to happen or not. We're just not that good. You guys should know that. But we're going to try to figure this one out for you folks. And maybe eventually there is a storm to track. So that's what we're looking for. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you folks got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling. So let's talk about what's going on right now. And I will speak on the Northeast. There is some moisture. Guys, there's some flakes flying around in Massachusetts, Vermont. Let me know what you're seeing. It's pretty interesting. It's Christmas Eve, if you will, if that's even a thing. So it's pretty cool seeing the festive flakes flying around. Now, this is not going to last most likely into Christmas Eve or Christmas Day for sure as warm air moves in. But it is cool seeing the flakes flying around the interior sections of the Northeast. We do have severe weather. The severe weather threat actually uptrended. We do have some severe thunderstorm warnings in southwest Texas tonight, so be careful down there. I'm going to tell you, we're not going to speak much on rain. 100% of this video is going to be talking about winter weather, except right now. But this is topic one. You see the snow flying around in Montana. Karen lives in Montana. She sent me an awesome video, I believe it was on Facebook, of the snow flying around. It was really cool seeing it, especially around Christmas time. But we have snow down here in Wyoming. Snow's starting to get going here in the Rockies. And I do think we're going to get a period of snow overnight to tomorrow morning for Denver. We'll see how much how much accumulates here. But we have just rain across areas of South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska. But this is going to be a totally different story. If you're a big rain fan, which I don't know who's really a huge rain fan unless you're in a drought, but if you prefer rain over snow, enjoy it while you can in this area of the country, because here in the next couple of days there could be a significant snowstorm for these areas, which will be topic 2. So let's go on a start to break this down. First off, we'll show you watches, warnings, and advisories. Man, we've been dealing with some wacky fog today. I've been seeing pictures all over social media from it. You still have dense fog advisories in the Great Lakes region, areas in the Midwest. But you see the teal color here in Nebraska, areas of South Dakota, that's winter storm watches. Lincoln, Nebraska, you're included in this. Omaha, up into South Dakota. The winter weather advisories is kind of topic one, system one, what's going on right now. And some of these areas, you have winter weather advisories and winter storm watches for, what's coming over the next 24 hours. And then as you get into Christmas Day, day after, that's when your major winter storm threat starts to emerge. So winter weather advisories across a couple counties in Montana, Wyoming, several counties in Wyoming, and then in Colorado you have some winter storm warnings. So this is what's going on as far as you even have some winter weather advisories up here in northern New York. But let's talk about topic one, this quick hitting storm system, what's going on right now. This snow will continue to kind of trail off into eastern Montana. Snow will continue to fall in areas of Wyoming. You can see it scattered about. And remember, we're in Eastern time right now, so back this up a couple hours for you folks in Wyoming. So this is around 11 p.m.-ish, give or take an hour for Wyoming. You got some snow flying around, just light to moderate. And then if you look down here near the Denver area, I think sometime later this evening, a burst of heavy snow could get going. And I think this is when you pick up most of your snow. I don't think it's going to last very long. I think you're going to wake up, maybe some snow is still flying around, but I think if you go to sleep early in Denver tonight, there's nothing on the ground. And then you wake up to maybe a coating of snow on the ground. We'll see what happens. But, as we're getting into, say, around 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, tomorrow morning, snow, maybe a heavy band of snow starts to really get going here in eastern Colorado, northeastern Colorado. Pretty much the entire western half of Nebraska, snow is falling. Could be some heavier snowing, some heavier banding in these areas. Snow is flying around up here and kind of sections of South Dakota. And then as we're getting into later in the morning, we're not that late in the morning, probably about 8, 9 a.m. Snow is flying around in areas of eastern North Dakota, central South Dakota, down here in central Nebraska, western Nebraska, even a little bit of snow that's starting to get into the Goodland, Kansas region as we are getting later into the morning, and then we're starting to get into early afternoon. Could end as a burst of snow up here in the northwest corner of Minnesota, and a burst of snow here in areas of kind of east central South Dakota, and then switches from rain to snow even in southeast North Dakota. I want to get my Dakotas mixed up there. And it's still snowing back here in areas of Nebraska. You still got some light snow flying around as you round off your Christmas Eve. You're starting to get into the afternoon and into the evening hours. And, for Christmas Eve evening, whatever you got going on, making some last-second preparations, you got some snow flying around, even some flurries still flying around all the way down here in Kansas, Goodland, the central areas of Nebraska. So, and not a huge event at all. And then this kind of heads out, and then you start to see our second topic, our second storm begin to emerge. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But how much snow between now and the next, I would say 48 hours, a few inches of snow. We're going to zoom into some of these areas. I told you guys in this morning's video I was going to try to mention some towns and cities. We're going to do that. I'm going to get you some good graphics here. But this is just a broad look at the area that's going to be most impacted by this quick hitting snow event over the next 48 hours. Several more inches of snow could pile up in the higher elevations of Wyoming. Certainly, the Rockies of Colorado will get several inches of snow. And then just kind of a narrow band of just 2 to 3 inches of snow through northeast Colorado, western and central sections of Nebraska. And I could see the snow increasing up here in northwest Minnesota, maybe areas of a sort of just further north in South Dakota. We'll see what happens with this. But let's zoom into a couple of these areas. So this is the National Weather Service out of Denver and the Boulder region. Right now, and what stinks is this is from like 5 a.m. So this is probably updated a little bit, but last time I checked, they were going for like 1 to 2 inches in Denver. A little bit south of Denver, you can start to add up maybe 3 to 5 inches in Castle Rock, Lyman, or Lemon. I can't remember how y'all pronounce it. I think it's Lyman. 2 to 4 inches, Burlington, Colorado, 1 to 2 inches, Julesburg, anywhere from nothing to 3 inches. But I do think y'all are going to get some accumulating snow up here. But some wacky totals. Not a whole lot up here in Fort Collins, and there's your higher elevations up here. Fort Morgan, 0 to 2 inches. So, here's a kind of a confidence graphic, if you will, if you want to pause it here and check that out. But this is kind of old. They'll probably drop in one, like, they probably just dropped the new one when I was making this video, or it'll probably be a new one that comes out here in the next hour or so, I bet. National Weather Service out of Goodland, Kansas. Yuma, 3 to 4 inches. Goodland, maybe 1 to 2 inches from this. This might be just put just enough snow on the ground for Christmas Eve to make for a white Christmas. Just enough. We're talking about blowtorch pattern, just warm. Nobody's going to get a white Christmas. Well, people are certainly going to get a white Christmas, especially as we get into Christmas Day. Remember, a white Christmas, you got to have an inch of snow on the ground to be considered a white Christmas, I believe. Yeah, don't hold me to that. But Ray, Colorado, going for 3 to 4 inches. Okay, so they've actually increased it right here. So Fort Morgan, 1 to 2, and this was updated earlier this afternoon. So this is much newer than the Boulder one. And then the graphic out of, what is this, North Platte, Nebraska. Just from this event, they are going for, any from a trace to 3 inches of snow in Gordon, Nebraska. Mullen, a trace to 3 inches. North Platte, a trace to 2 inches. So they're basically saying you're either going to get nothing or maybe 2 inches of snow. But strong winds with this too. It's gusty winds, even with this first system. Now this next system could bring more snow to these areas. Okay, and we're going to talk more on that here in a second. Well, let's go on and move to Wyoming. And they got a cool little festive looking graphic here, but not a whole lot of extra snow. Sydney, trace to 3 inches of snow. Alliance, a trace to 2 inches of snow. I believe this is getting back into Nebraska. Scotts Bluff, 0 to 2 inches of snow. Garrett and trace, but I know it might be a little blurry on the screen, but just some winter weather advisory even up for Casper. Casper can get 1 to 2 inches of additional snow from tonight. So that's what's going to happen with this system over the next 24 to 36 hours. Let's now speak on our next system. This one is going to be a major event. Like I said, I'm very surprised not as many people are talking about this, but let's compare the Euro with the GFS because there's still some differences with this. Here comes the other low, just rain for most of Iowa, all of Missouri, and then everybody points south and southeast. But look at this, and we'll back it up a little bit. So this is kind of overnight Christmas Eve into Christmas morning. Look at the snow start to increase for areas in Nebraska. And we're going to do the same thing with this storm. We're going to zoom into a couple areas. You're waking up to snow Christmas morning. Snow's falling in northern Kansas. Snow's falling in central and sort of east central Nebraska. It looks like you're hanging on to rain in Omaha, but that could change. Ice up here in the northwest corner of Iowa, southwest corner of Minnesota. And to keep this going, and guys, there definitely could be like an ice storm section of this as this low kind of plows back west and creates a warm nose into the system. And so you see this pink, the orange would be sleet, the pink would be freezing rain. So we're getting into about midday Christmas Day. You're getting a hefty snow event with blowing winds. We're going to show you winds here in a second too. It's snowing at a pretty moderate to heavy pace in northern Kansas too, the heart of Nebraska, especially sort of the east central Nebraska area. Lincoln, it's snowing, but Omaha, it's still raining. Could be getting a wintry mix in Lincoln. And like I said, we'll get closer to some towns, but look at this ice. Kind of up the Sioux Falls, Sioux City region. Ice, freezing rain falling in areas of extreme eastern sections of South Dakota. Getting even some freezing rain into central Minnesota. And then we're starting to get into the afternoon. We're starting to get in the evening. And this thing is even deepening even more. And this low on the latest Euro really starts to inch and get really close to Omaha. So this is bringing a lot of warm air in. Omaha, you have like a winter storm watch right now. Let's see if there is a new Euro run. And there is. Okay, so where it is. It only goes out 48 hours. But I can tell you the latest Euro, which only goes out to about midday Christmas, that kind of stinks. So we're going to have to go back to the other one. It does look like it's a tad bit colder, a little bit more winter weather closer to Omaha. But I don't know if y'all want anything to do with that ice. But if you compare kind of this with this, it does look like it's a little bit colder of a storm. So we'll see. But let's just stick with the run from earlier today. But we start to get into Christmas late evening, and I mean, you got a raging winter storm in Nebraska, snowing pretty good in northern areas of Kansas, and this keeps ticking west. You're going to start to get some more snow starting to show up in northeast Colorado again too, and some more snow a little bit further west in Nebraska. This is just a nasty winter storm, an icy mix up here in eastern sections of South Dakota. I mean, even in eastern sections of Nebraska, you could have a kind of a snow changing the freezing rain mess. And then this kind of starts to weaken and fizzle out, and then the energy begins to dump southeast. But I mean, even getting into the afternoon of the 26th, it's still snowing, freezing rain up here in northern Minnesota, freezing rain in areas of like, it's crazy. You know, it's snowing all the way down here in Kansas, but you're getting freezing rain up here in southeast North Dakota. So wild stuff. System kind of fizzles out. Could end us a little bit of snow in like Missouri getting into the 27th. What about the GFS? GFS is, you know, pretty much agrees. It's colder though. The GFS, you know, gets this going. This is Christmas morning. Light to moderate snows already falling in Kansas and Nebraska and southeast areas of South Dakota. And then here it comes. It really cranks up a little bit later. So about midday Christmas, you got freezing rain in Nebraska. I'm sorry, in like Omaha. Freezing rain in extreme western areas of Iowa. Freezing rain in same sections of Minnesota, southwest Minnesota, just snow in Nebraska. But look how this nudges west. I mean, man, it moves more northwest in general. Throws a lot of heavy snow into South Dakota. Freezing rain up in the areas of the eastern Dakotas. And still just a heavy snow event. And then here comes the back energy. It kind of fizzles out and tries to dump a little bit of snow, kind of the same thing as the Euro does, into Missouri. So very interesting setup, and we're going to continue to talk about this energy when we get to the third topic, which is our pattern change. But what about the HRRR model? It only goes out 48 hours, but we go all the way out to Christmas morning. Okay, this is cranking up. But I can tell you the HRRR model is starting this out like in Omaha, like Sioux Falls, Sioux City, as snow. And it has kind of the wintry mix a little bit further east. And then you keep this going. And I mean, check this out. I mean, the HRRR model says, hey, a band of heavy snow up here. This is just rain. It's going to be a rainy Christmas for Minneapolis. You're literally going to be all up in the warm nose, meaning you're going to get warm air aloft and warm air at the surface. But the HRRR model says heavy snow starting to blast into eastern areas of South Dakota, even some heavy snow into extreme western and southwestern sections of Minnesota. But this is heavy snow along the Iowa-Nebraska border. Even some snow showing up, heavy snow in the extreme northwest sections of Missouri. But this only goes out to about 11 a.m. noon Christmas Day. So this is all we got from the HRRR model. So what about these winds, guys? You know, this is from the first event, gusty winds. But as we are starting to get into Christmas morning, okay, this is about midday Christmas. Look at these. These are potential wind gusts, gusting to 30 to 40 miles per hour, not sustained, but just wind gust. So you got to think, in these areas right in here, it is snowing. So blizzard conditions, at least at times. And I would not be surprised we get some blizzard mornings. And I mean, we start to get into the, you know, for Christmas evening, I mean, this is going to be an all-out blizzard. Now, you know, you hunker down, have a plan if you're in Nebraska and the South Dakota and these areas, because it's just going to be one of those like Christmas movie kind of Christmases where, you know, the blizzard moves in, whatever movies those are, but it's going to be a snowy Christmas for these areas, but it's really not going to get going until Christmas. And look at these winds as you start to get into Christmas night, into the 26th. 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts off the blend of all models showing up, guys. So this snow is going to be blowing around. This is going to be an issue. Like I said, very surprised it's not getting talked about as much. I know I've said that a couple times already, but this is from our first event. But then here comes our next event. Look how these snowfall totals on the blend of all models just dramatically increase. Really bullseyes kind of this area right here in southern South Dakota, northern Nebraska, throwing a couple inches of snow in like Omaha. And this is just the blend of all models. And we look at like ice totals from this, right? Man, that is not good. I mean, they're going, I mean, they're even showing a little ice in Minneapolis. I don't know about that, but it's really liking an all-out ice storm in areas of Minnesota, especially southwest Minnesota, areas of Iowa, and extreme eastern sections of the Dakotas. So, you know, you look at the National Weather Service forecast of ice. We're going to have to back this up here and go out. First of all, this is the National Weather Service for snow, which is higher than the blend of all models. But it kind of agrees where the bullseye is going. But guys, they're calling for 1.5 feet of snow in these areas. This is a big deal. What about the freezing rain totals? Man, that is a hefty freezing rain event for northern areas of Minnesota, guys. I mean, it even, you know, gives gives freezing rain all the way into northeast Minnesota. So, I mean, you're talking 1/10 to 2/10 to maybe 3/10 of an inch of ice. When you start to get over 1/4 inch of freezing rain, that's when you start to have the tree limbs breaking, power outages. And this is a serious deal. It really is. Like I said, it's just not getting talked about as much, in my opinion. Now, I don't want to leave you folks out in Kansas. Let's show you folks in Kansas. Sorry, I'm everywhere here. Kansas right in here. Guys, I mean, the National Weather Service calling for in the northern counties of Kansas, and some of this is from the first event, but between both events, I mean, they're going for, 2 to 4 inches of snow. So Christmas snow is likely for the northern counties of Kansas. Not much freezing rain, if any, from this. I don't think freezing rain will be an issue down here. Now, let's zoom into a couple areas. This is some discussions from the National Weather Service in some of these areas. This is the National Weather Service out of North Platte, which I think we've already showed this once, but this is for the second storm. Chances of 2 inches of snow or more for North Platte. It's over 50% chance. Broken Bow. Let's actually just focus on the 4 inches of snow or more. Plainview, there's, over a 75% chance, 4 inches of snow. So, I mean, it's a hefty event. I mean, and it really starts to increase once you get into this area in Nebraska right here. But, if it shows your town on there, definitely feel free to pause this graphic. It's available to the public. Just type in, I'm pretty sure you can just type in NWS North Platte, and it will show you some awesome graphics for your area. And that goes for any region. But this is the one I like the most, the National Weather Service out of Hastings, Nebraska. I mean, it really shows a great some graphics here. I know this is going to be kind of hard to see on the screen, but I mean, for Grand Island going for 5 to 12 inches of snow. I could mention every single town on here, but you guys hopefully can see it pretty well. 5 to 11 inches in Broken Bow, Loop City 5 to 12, Columbus 4 to 11. That is a very wide kind of range, right? 4 to 11 inches. Fremont 3 to 8. So Marysville 2 to 6. So, yeah, I mean, check it out. 1 to 4 inches in Manhattan, North Platte, 3 to 7 inches. So, we'll move on and we'll look at the National Weather Service out of Omaha. Look at Omaha. And this was issued, this is issued pretty earlier this morning. Hopefully they'll have an updated graphic with this. I really hope they do. This is just going to take me straight to Twitter. Yeah. So, this was updated about 12 hours ago, unfortunately, but the National Weather Service in Lincoln just going for anywhere from 0 to 3 inches. Omaha is anywhere from 0 to 4 inches. 2 to 7 inches in Norfolk, Nebraska, Hardington, 3 to 9 inches. Sioux City, anywhere from 1 to 5 inches of snow. It could be 1, could it be 5. So it's a tough forecast still, but the confidence is there that something big is coming. So I hope that helps for you folks out there in the Midwestern portion of the country. But let's talk about this pattern change. We're going to freeze this a couple times. So you see the lower heights. The lower heights are in the blue. That means low pressure. We've talked about this. But if you're a new viewer, the blue is lower pressure, a trough, a dip in the jet stream. Think of it like that. The oranges, the reds, that is higher pressure. It's a ridge, kind of a bulge in the jet stream. So if you notice down here in the blue, that's low pressure. So think of this as a storm system, and it definitely is. That's kind of what's left over of our storm system that we're going to be dealing with the Christmas snowstorm. And this sets up, and if you look at this blue line right in here, that is our dip in the jet. Okay, at the same time, you got a ridge that's beginning to really, it's been here the whole entire time for the last several days at this point. It's really starting to bulge northward and starting to move into Alaska. And as I keep this going, the blue does nothing but really kind of sit still over the eastern U.S. So you have a trough in place over the eastern U.S. with a lot of energy flying around this jet. So I'm going to go on and just take it all the way to right here. So this is getting, let's go a little bit further. Let's go right into here. Okay. This is around the evening of New Year's Eve. So what you got going on is you got blue right here, lower pressure. You basically got a dip in the jet stream right into here. Okay, you got a ridge that's pretty much built all the way up into Alaska. What this has done is this ridge has nudged all the way up into the Arctic Circle, basically, the North Pole, and split the vortex and kind of dropped some cold air on both sides of this ridge, on this side and on this side. So at this point, let's try to back it up a little bit right in here. Let's get it right here. So this is getting into pretty much New Year's Day. So at this point, you got this trough over the eastern U.S., this dip in the jet. So we're going to try to draw on this. So what's going on right here is this ridge is built all the way up into Alaska. And then the jet digs all the way into the eastern U.S. like this. I mean, it's not exactly where it's going to be digging, but in general, that's where it's digging. So you got this ridge right into place, just building up into western Canada all the way up to Alaska. We call this a negative EPO, a positive PNA. No real blocking at this point up in Greenland. So you don't have that negative NAO that you hear a lot of people talk about that really locks these storms in place. So you don't have that yet. That could develop down the road or not. You don't necessarily need it. It's great to have. At the same time, you see this energy in the Pacific, the lower pressure. This is going to kind of begin the stages of an active southern jet. So you're going to have energy kind of coming down here. And if I was to keep this going even further, you would probably start to see blue kind of start to show up down here in the southern sections of the U.S. So when this ridge builds up like this, you're going to have cold air kind of coming down on this side. Now, I want to remind you guys, remember we were talking about the Pacific jets, all that mild air from the Pacific blasting the snowpack in Canada? Well, it's in the process of doing that right now with well above average temperatures. So we don't have much, if any, snowpack up in Canada. So we're going to have this air sliding down out of the Arctic, but it's going to moderate some, which means it's not going to be as colder as it could be if there was a lot of snowpack up here. Remember, all that snowpack, acts as kind of containing that cold air as it slides down this ridge. But there is going to be cold air coming down. And, it's not necessarily going to be coming down like where this arrow shows it. It's going to be sliding down here too. It's going to be sliding down over here. And colder air mass. Now, at the same time, let's get rid of these ugly arrows right here. You got energy kind of going like this, right? You got this dip in the jet. And remember, I'm just going to put X's as pieces of energy. You got pieces of energy kind of riding down this dip in the jet, coming down like this at the same time. We call this northern stream energy. At the same time, you got pieces of energy coming off the Pacific, kind of riding in, trying to meet up with these areas of energy right into here. So what happens? Well, these areas of energy can meet one another and kind of create an opportunity for a bigger storm somewhere in here. And with a little bit of a cold air feed, and we're starting to enter a better time of the year for, climate-wise for colder air as we get at the end of December and January, which is, our coldest month of the year pretty much for just about everybody. Even marginal cold air for this time of the year is enough for a winter storm, depending on where you live. Not for the deep south, but for areas in the mid-Atlantic, the Midwest certainly, and then areas of the plains, Northeast for sure. So now, if you don't have, maybe this piece of energy and then this piece of energy phased together, for example, sometimes you can still get winter weather or some kind of storm system just off a strong piece of northern stream energy, which are, coming down like this. Okay, and then you got the energy coming off the Pacific with the active southern jet. So pieces of energy coming down, cold air sinking down, okay? And this is because of this ridge that comes up, kind of splits the cold air, makes it sink southward into the lower 48. Okay, hope that makes sense. I feel like I explained it pretty decent there, but I know it's not easy. I've learned a lot of what I know from people on Twitter and social media, believe it or not. But you keep this going past 10 days, and you just continue to have this dip in the jet and the lower pressure over the eastern and central U.S. And, you keep seeing these big blobs of blue coming off the Pacific. And this could potentially be a big storm system linking up with cold air. So you keep this going, and, this is the energy I'm talking about. Let's just take a look at the GFS, for example. And, we get past this storm system. This is our big storm system that's going to deliver that big old Christmas Day doozy of a winter storm in the middle of the country. So this kind of moves in, a trough of low pressure basically develops. And you see this blue line here? This is our big trough developing. As this develops, check this out. This is developing right in here. You got the little pieces of energy coming down here. You got pieces of energy embedded in the trough. You got some southern stream energy kind of riding in. You just got energy everywhere. You got this energy coming down here. It's about to do something. And we get all this back off. And I'm going to kind of keep this in motion really fast for you folks so you can see how this thing's rotating. You see how all that energy is kind of rotating around? Well, you got to watch everything out there, guys. I mean, I would watch the couple days before us entering into the new year. There's not much there, but, we get in the kind of the 30th or the 31st range. We got to watch these little pieces of energy right here. Can they link up with something? Some of the model guidance is showing it is. But, we start to get on off. We get 10 days out from now. The trough reloads right in here somewhere. And then here it comes. A lot of energy starts to fly around. And this is a big piece of energy starting to enter the Pacific. And, it's a funny way it works. You don't always need a phaser, but to get some of your bigger winter storms, you do need it because it helps to provide that northern stream energy. Not only combines with the southern stream energy to create a bigger storm, it also injects more cold air into the system. So hope that makes sense, and we're actually going to show you guys some model runs, the latest model runs. I know a lot of people wants to see that, but this is what the temperatures are going to do compared to average. So we started off when we're in the 26-27 time frame, a couple days after Christmas. Warmer than average temperatures dominating the eastern U.S., but you see the colder than average temperatures starting to show up in the south central, and as we move into the 28th, 29th, okay, starting to get into the 30th. Well, this is around the 30th. Let's make sure we're in the right one right here. Let's just go on and get it like this. I like this better. Yeah, I like this much better. Okay, so we're getting into, this is around the 29th at this point. Look at these below average temperatures showing up, okay. We're starting to get into the 30th. Look at this. This is anywhere from 8 to 15 degrees below average across the south and southeast, even getting into the northeast now. Okay, and then we start to get into the last day of the last day of 2023. To me, that day looks pretty cold. I think we're going to enter the new year very cold across areas. I'm not talking about Arctic air, but pretty chilly for areas of the south and southeast. But then we enter the new year, January 1st. It looks quite chilly across the southeast. And it's the common thing, getting into the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. And just the common theme between basically a couple of days after Christmas into the next 7 to 8 days after, below average temperatures look to dominate the region. And in fact, you look at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the National Weather Service, guys, the 29th through the 2nd, confidence continues to do nothing. This is the latest one from 3 p.m. to 23rd today. Look at Florida, getting pretty chilly. And the entire southeast, deep south, mid-Atlantic has a chance of below average temperatures in this time frame. And guys, we go out as far out as the 31st to the 6th of January. And it does nothing but broaden. And so this isn't us looking at a pattern and hoping for this anymore. This is, the experts starting to see it. And what I think you're going to start to see locally, if they haven't mentioned it already, but you folks, that live in the east, the southeast, you're going to start to see more and more people talk about this as far as your local news networks, your meteorologists. But people are going to be hesitant on it. They're going to be gun shy on it. And rightfully so. It's always difficult to especially if you're a winter weather fan like me, to not get excited about this stuff. But you never want to speak on it too fast. But man, the writing's on the wall on this for sure. It's coming. It's just because there's a colder pattern coming, that doesn't mean you're going to get a winter storm necessarily. Let's take a look at the latest Euro from earlier today. And there's our major winter storm fizzling out. And if you're confused about the time frame, we're getting into the 27th December. You can look over here too. But we start to get into a couple days after Christmas. And, I would watch out for a northwest flow event. Some energy flying through the Ohio Valley, the southern Appalachian regions. I think if you go up to the mountains a few days after Christmas, I think you can get a northwest flow event. I think it's sure, possible. Some Great Lakes snow is possible as we get into later next week. Some lake effect snow. And then if you look at all these blue lines, this is cold air dropping down. Look at this high pressure dropping down into the country, the lower 48. And that is when our cold air starts to move in. And look at this lake effect snow band around the 30th, or just all the Great Lakes. Seeing that lake effect snow, you got a lot of energy flying around. So you're seeing a lot of light shades of blue, like in West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio. That is because there's energy out there. It's just not a lot of strong energy, like creating a major winter storm or a major storm system. It's just kind of flying around out there, which happens a lot. But if you look right in here, right around the 30th and the 31st, you have something here, but it does not phase fast enough. And you got moisture right off the coast, the Carolinas and the Mid-Atlantic. And it actually shows a little blob of blue right here off the coast of Norfolk, like in, the Delmarva region. There's energy right here, but it does not get its act together fast enough. So it's a dud. And then if you look, you get all the way out to the morning of New Year's. You got a little winter weather event showing up right here, but it kind of phases, it kind of gets squashed. And that is because of this cold air on top. But that is the same storm system that I showed you guys this morning. So there's another storm signal kind of a couple days after New Year's that we're watching. Now I know I just showed you all that and you're thinking, Mitch, I didn't see anything cool. But it's not all about, seeing the pretty blues and pinks and greens, whatever you think's exciting. Maybe nothing, maybe just sunshine. It's about really analyzing the pattern and seeing what's going on out there. Now you look at the GFS, it's the latest GFS. I'm telling you, it does like something 3 or 4 days after Christmas. An aggressive little northern stream piece of energy associated with this trough of low pressure. This little weak low right over Ohio could deliver some light snow for Ohio, the Ohio Valley, areas of West Virginia. It's much more aggressive with this than the Euro, getting into the 28th, the 29th. I mean, look at this snow. Could be a moderate event based off the GFS with this. Show some snow around for PA, West Virginia, New York. Coming off the Great Lakes and the southern Ontario, the southern Appalachian Mountains, you got a little bit of snow. Could be kind of a wintry week in this area of the country as we get into later next week. Could be. After that settles down, and you could, this could turn into a bigger event for like Maine. You see that up here? And then, it kind of gets quiet. We get into next weekend, or New Year's weekend, and we're getting into the morning of New Year's Eve, and you can see this trough in place by these blue lines, and you're thinking, well, is there anything else that's going to happen? Well, a shot of cold air with a piece of energy with it kind of comes down New Year's Day, delivers some light snow in those same areas, and then we start to get to the second. We're getting way out there at this point. We're getting like 10 days out, and then here comes a big storm system riding up, drops some snow into the panhandle of Texas. And it's about to do something for the southeast. Now, this is 282 hours out. It's pretty far. But then you see another cold high pressure dropping down, about to deliver a lot of cold air into the system, but it gets sheared out. And then cold air really drops down as we get about several days into the new year. And in the very end of the run, the good old 384 hours out, it shows a snow event for areas in the southeast and deep south. But man, it's way out there. Very far out there. 10 days is far enough, but that's very far out there. So, we'll roll through these ones pretty quick. The Canadian model shows kind of what the Euro and GFS is showing. A lot of energy around for the Midwest and the Ohio Valley, even areas in the Mid-South maybe, and then the Northeast, flying around the end of next week into early next weekend. I think there will be some energy around. But then, kind of a weak low forms down here. Canadian has plenty of cold air. This is about a week from today. And some models have been hinting at this, a system flying up kind of the day before New Year's Eve, the 30th and the 31st, and it wants to deliver a light snow event 9 days from now, 8-9 days from now for areas of the Mid-South, the Southern Apps. This is not a forecast, but it just tells you all the energy flying around, and then it tries to really get going off the coast and never quite does. But man, at the end of the Canadian model, ton of cold air. Look at all these blue lines, the 540 line. That just tells me there's just a ton of cold air loading up. Not Arctic air, but pretty cold air. The icon, all I can show you with this is it only goes out 120 hours, but man, it shows. It looks like it shows a piece of energy about to get its act together and do something as we enter the 29th and 30th. So I'm not sure what it was about to do. The icon isn't the best model out there, but I like to show it. It does good sometimes. But man, we got to pay attention to this pattern coming up. I'm going to be very interested to see what it looks like as we wake up tomorrow morning. And I will certainly have you an update on everything tomorrow morning. But these videos are going to be very long. One being because, especially in the mornings, I do the daily forecast. But two, because we have a major winter storm to discuss that's pretty much going to happen. And then we have this pattern change to discuss. So once we start to work our way through this winter storm through Christmas, that's when we can really just hone in on this pattern change right after Christmas. But between now and then, the next few videos are probably going to be rather long. But that's all I got. God bless all y'all. Have a great night. I'll talk to you in the morning.